Hello, and welcome to Authors Amplified. I'm your host, Stephanie O'Neill. My show is a part of the Amplified Podcast Network, where ideas echo and voices resonate. With over 20 years at Christian Television Network, I've had the privilege of meeting countless talented and spiritual individuals, and it's too inspiring not to share. I'm just a girl who loves Jesus wholeheartedly. I'm eager to learn and grow, and I'd like you to join me on this journey. In each episode, I'll be speaking with Christian authors who will share their stories and insights about the books they've written. I'm thrilled to have you with us, so let's get started. Welcome to Authors Amplified. Today is going to be a fun one. We have a Christian novel for you today. Great author, great book. Today we have John Price with us. His book is called Whitman's Choice, and it's very interesting. It's not something I've ever read before. So, John, so thankful to have you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking me to be here today. Thank you.
We're excited. So first, let's just talk a little bit about you so the listeners know who they're listening to. Who are you and what do you do, and tell us about you.
Well, my name is John Price. I am a college business instructor. Teach office technology is my area. Been doing that for nearly 25 years. I've been involved with that for a long time. I'm married to my wife, Anna, who originally helped me edit the book. Although we had to get some other folks involved to help us with that, to do the editing and some of the other things with it. I've been married for almost 18 years to her, and we have a little dog named Tassa, who's a little mini golden doodle. We've got her put away for the moment, so she won't interrupt our program today. If I had her out, she'd probably be trying to jump up in my lap here during all that. But anyway, I've grown up in Arkansas, so that's my home base and has been for many, 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 many years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, as I was mentioning, I've been living here in the Central Arkansas area for most of my life. I would say practically almost all my life, almost the 54 plus years that the Lord has allowed me to be here.
Yes.
And hopefully there'll be several more. Just whatever the Lord wills to do, and just have to take it as it comes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've been involved with that all these years, and I've been a Christian. Been around church all my life, but I actually became a Christian when I was 25, shortly after several life-changing experiences that really affected me to make that serious decision. And so anyway, so as far as the writing thing is concerned, this was something that was placed on my heart about 7 years ago when I saw a certain television show that had a certain actor in it, and I decided that, well, there might be an interesting story there. So I decided, instead of trying to rationalize the real situation, I thought, let's rationalize it with a fictional story instead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what led me to write it, because I've always been fascinated with the television and broadcast industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some relatives who have also worked in the industry, some extended, distant relatives who have worked in it or are currently working in it. So that I guess it sort of was interesting to find that out later on, when I didn't know way back when that I had some relatives who were getting into the business. So some extended relatives I didn't know as well, and unfortunately, some of them don't know me as well because of time and distance.
Mm-hmm.
So um, that tells you just a little bit about my background.
Yeah. So did you always think about being an author? Did you like writing, or was that something new to you that the Lord laid on your heart?
Well, when I was younger, and I would say definitely back when I guess it was back when I was about, I remember in the summertime, I would go to the library and check out books at our
Mm-hmm.
local library, and would spend many summers just reading various children stories that were available at our library. And I would lot of mystery. I would read a lot of those children's mystery books
Hmm.
that really fascinated me a lot. And I always thought about it saying, it'd be neat if I could write a story someday and write a book too. And I even tried to write stories when I was a young age. And but then life got busy and I stopped doing writing and I was just busy with my professional work. And then a few years ago, as I mentioned about, I guess it was about 7 years ago, one of my friends had said something about writing a book and he had written some kind of story, novel himself. And I said, that's interesting. And then this situation suddenly hit me one day when I saw a certain item in the news. And when I saw it, I went, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this had happened. And it's like, wow, I didn't know this had happened already. And so it started hitting me that, you know what, this might make for an interesting story. And so I spent between Memorial Day weekend and close to Independence Day, about 7 years ago, I started hammering out just started writing,
Mm-hmm.
just started typing up a story that was mulling in my mind over the last several weeks there. And so I had a first draft within about that time frame.
Wow.
But then we had to spend time trying to edit the thing and all that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then pandemic hit. And even though we had tried to publish it initially under a different title, I had a author friend of ours that we met a few years back that told us we needed to actually have it re-edited and changed and change the title, change the layout and everything. So we went to the trouble of doing all that. And do you mind if I mention the author who told me that? Because
No, go right ahead.
she's a Christian author. I'd like to
Hmm.
give her where credit is due. Her name is Deborah Howard, and she has her own website, and she has written several books. And she's the one who suggested I get it re-edited and
Hmm.
get a new cover and get it taken care of. And then I joined the White County Creative Writers Group. Uh, I guess it was a couple of years ago. I learned about them through a book conference that was suggested to me. And anyway, I joined the group and have been participating when I can. Have to drive a little bit of a distance to get there to go to the meetings, but it's still fun to go and meet the folks and see what's
Hmm.
going on. Actually gets me to go back to where some of my family roots happen to be because of where it's located, where they
Hmm.
meet, because it's not far from where some of my ancestors grew up. So it makes me feel like, oh, I'm going back sort of like to
Going
my
home.
family,
Yeah.
going home in a way. So, um, so anyway, it's just taken us a journey trying to get from finding a legitimate publisher, a legitimate editor, and covers and getting a cover that would work. And it was through the White County group that I learned about the publisher that who I'm publishing with, who's Paperback Press. So I want to give credit where credit is due, as I said.
Hmm.
So anyway, so it's taken us this long just to get to this point now. So
Right.
of
Right.
getting the book out. So it's just taken us time to get it out there where folks can know about it.
Right. Right. So it's called Whitman's Choice. It's a
Hmm.
Christian novel. Can you give us a short synopsis of what the book's about?
Well, a real quick short synopsis would be is what happens when Hollywood fame collides with faith. That's a short, very short take, but the basic story is about a young man by the name of Michael Whitman, who's a former child actor, and he's telling the story of what happened when uh, his wife and his sister, his wife Celeste and his sister Stacy, had to go back and reprise roles from an old TV show they had done many years earlier in an updated show called Goodwin Circles Around Again, because the original show was called Goodwin Circle that they had been on. And so this new show is supposed to be on a streaming service and supposed to be an updated version of their old show. Unfortunately, he's not able to participate at the beginning, but when he finds out later after his wife and sister have been involved with several episodes of it, he learns the show is not so family friendly as it's been advertised.
Mm.
So that basically is what the story deals with is what happens when the fallout happens.
Yeah. I mean, that is just true to life. of what some people experience today.
Hmm.
So you had said let me think. You were telling me about how the idea grew because you had seen
Hmm.
something and it just clicked in your mind. Can you
Hmm.
elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I had seen I'm in the news. There had been they've had all these TV shows being brought back. I had heard something about it was actually another news story that got my attention about it, and I wasn't aware because my wife and I for almost 10 years lived at a house here in the Little Rock area where we live. We didn't have television access for about 10 years.
Wow.
And so I didn't know certain things were going on as far as TV shows are happening, whatever. I just simply would only see what was on the web or
Mm-hmm.
if it was in the news. But this one news article caught my attention that a certain TV show had been brought back. I thought, I didn't know they had done this. And
Mm.
so I started exploring a little bit about that. And then I suddenly discovered, wait a minute, this show is not I was shocked by some of the content that was
Mm.
being presented and who was actually in some of the shots of
Mm-hmm.
what was going on. So I started exploring, okay, what are people saying about this? And I started looking up various things. I thought, well, obviously something went awry because um, I learned that the TV show had gotten canceled. Uh, and I thought, well, if it's gotten canceled, I can probably see why.
Yeah.
So if it's and there were claims that the audience was lost. I said, well, they lost the audience, and of course we have competition out there and newer shows being brought on no online. Um, I thought this is just shocking, and I felt like in a way I was just shocked by the content and who was involved, and I wanted to sort of say, I felt like wanting to respond. I thought, this might be an interesting way to respond because I've seen TV shows sometimes take items in the news and add a new twist to it or
Yeah.
add maybe an explanation. So I thought in this situation, why not take the idea and expand on it? And even though it is fiction, there were some ideas that inspired me to write it.
Sure, sure. So then why focus on the Christian perspective? It was perspective of it. How'd that come about?
Well, as I mentioned, the particular actor in question is a professing Christian.
Mm,
And I thought, that's interesting because many, many years ago, I did not know this particular actor was a Christian. Uh, and then when I later found out that they were, when I saw this situation develop, I thought, I can't imagine how one could handle this
mm,
with I can't imagine I guess you could say the pressure that might come about that what some of the fans would have if they say, well, why is this actor doing this? And then I started doing some research saying, how does one resolve this issue? How does
mm,
one deal with this? And so I found some articles online, like gotquestions.org had an article about can a Christian be involved in Hollywood entertainment?
mm,
There's an article out there that they had, so I read through that. And that's where I got some of the Bible verses from and references from. And then Focus on the Families Plugged In. They had an article talking about actors and dealing with the conflict between personal beliefs and roles that they have to play sometimes. And so that I thought this would be an interesting issue to address.
mhm,
And even though, because I'll give another example, my wife many years ago was watching a TV episode of a long running um, police show,
mhm.
and she started describing the plot line to me, and I went, "That sounds like something I've heard in the news before." And she said, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was
Yep.
watching it." So I thought, well, it's not. This is nothing. That's not really anything new because I've heard of old TV shows where, like, for example, I'll give an example: Dragnet.
Mhm.
Uh, that they always said on that one, it's like the following story you've seen is you're about to see is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. So I could say in some ways that my book might be one of those. This the story, all this, although this one is fiction, the inspiration behind it might be. related,
Right.
might be connected to some of the things from what I have been able to read
Mm-hmm.
or see is true, but
Mm-hmm.
the names have been changed protectively.
Right, right. So the book follows the story of this family as they go through
Hmm.
all of this. I want to make sure that's clear.
Hmm. That's
I
right.
as viewers, we don't usually think about like what the actors go through or what they have to deal with and all that. And I'm
Hmm.
always so proud when I see actors stand up for their beliefs. We see that
Hmm.
more and more often now. I think it's more now people are willing to stand up than before.
Hmm.
So that makes me so happy.
Hmm.
So what do you hope readers will take away from this book?
Well, I would hope that readers take away from the book that before they rush to judgment, there could be other circumstances behind the scenes as to why, say, if someone says, well, why does this actor not stand up and say something? Or why don't they criticize the work that they've been asked to do? Well, there are various ramifications that could come as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because of contractual obligations. If they're not the only person in the production, um, if someone comes out and makes a disparaging remark about their own show, next thing you know, that could harm other people's livelihood because it could destroy the show.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, viewers do have a right to express their opinion of say, hey, we don't like seeing this kind of content. Um, but I think in the real life situation, what I think that inspired me to write this, I think there's more to the story. It's just that it hasn't all come out yet. Um, and maybe someday it will.
Mm,
So I would say, but in my case, the story is just that you need to consider there are a lot of other things behind the scenes. Then you can't have an actor just go and say bad things about their show when they might be tricked into doing things that they didn't
mm-hmm.
want to do.
Right, right.
So,
That's true. Can we go on a little bunny trail here and talk about
mhm,
becoming an author? If we have aspiring authors on here, the Lord has laid something on their heart. They've never thought about being an author, but now
mhm,
that they want to be.
mhm,
What would you tell them? Is there things that you wish you would have known before you started all of this? Are there lessons that you wish you would have knew? Is there
mhm,
something that you could tell them to know
mhm.
about before that you wish you knew?
Well, one of the things I wish I knew is that there are writer groups out there. In fact, before you rush to publish a book, uh, you might want to get involved in a writers group and meet some other authors and get to know some of them to know what works and what doesn't.
Hmm.
They can also provide suggestions of what, like if there are certain publishing companies you should go with or watch out for various scams that are out there. Because unfortunately, there's a
Very
lot of
important.
writer scam things going
Mhm.
on out there. There are publishing companies that are not always on the up and up.
Mhm.
There are some that are going to charge outrageous fees just to publish. I mean, there are some. I mean, through this exploration, I thought, do I self-publish? Do I go with a publisher? Do I um, there's a lot more work to trying to get to an established publishing company because if you're trying to get the attention of, say, a literary agent, there's a lot involved to get that off the ground. So again, it might help having some fellow authors suggest
Mhm.
uh, what would be the best route to go. Um, Again, an authors group is great. Also, some of the conferences, also you have to watch out on some of those sometimes. But if it's a local group, usually most of those are pretty much on the legitimate side. Like I know, like
Mhm.
I have the White County group that I mentioned, but there are other groups out there that it's just a matter of asking some of the fellow authors, are these good places to go or not? So
Yeah, yeah.
that's another thing. I would also suggest not rush to self-publish right away because if you do self-publish, many traditional publishers will not take the book, they say.
Mm,
That's not true for all, but there are
yeah.
a lot of them that won't.
Hmm.
So before you rush to self-publish, you might want to explore the differences between, do I really have time to go through the traditional route, or is there somebody else out there that could be willing to publish this book? And again, you have to watch out again because there are some publishing companies out there that will take your money and run,
Right,
unfortunately.
right.
And sometimes you'll have companies that will take the money and then sit on your book and nothing happens.
Right.
So, and I've heard some stories like that, unfortunately, that have taken
Mm-hmm.
place.
Mm.
So those are some things you have to watch out for.
Right, right. That's good advice. Very good advice.
Hmm.
Let's get back to the book. Do you have any particular scenes that you're like really proud of that you really like? Because this it is a fiction. It's not a
Yeah.
true story. So a lot of it is coming from your imagination, right?
Hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's coming from, yeah, but I'm thinking about it from the standpoint also as to like the real life situation. I thought, I wonder if this had, well, of course, the real life situation did not follow exactly my story, follow my story's plot. Um, but some of the scenes in my book, um, I think one of the scenes where um, the main character Mike has a meeting with his agent, who happens to be a former child star as well, and they're having a conversation over lunch, and his friend, his agent, reveals to him the bad news of this new TV show is not family friendly, and
Mm,
your sister and your wife are both mixed up in this. And then and of course, Mike is just floored by it. And of course, at the beginning, when we start the story off, we learn why he's upset because
hmm
we start off finding out he's upset, and then we backtrack to find out what got him to this particular situation.
hmm
So, but that scene, that's one that I really that's fun writing. Then the scene between Mike and his wife Celeste when he confronts her with the show, and he just decides, "Hey, I want to watch this show. I want to," and so they sit down to watch it, and of course, her reaction to having to hear all the all the lines again and all the stuff that he's like, she's just the reaction from her. I thought, wow. Um, and then there's another scene where later on in the book where Mike gets to talk to his sister Stacy for the first time in face to face
hmm
because he's sort of tried to keep out of the he'd rather talk to her face to face than try to discuss it over phone or email or anything. So they have a family meeting one at some point. Um, they're in Texas where they're originally from, visiting at their parents' home, and the interaction there between his older sister and Mike and his older sister just really, my wife said to me, that was a very good brother sister dynamic being shown there. All of a sudden, it almost sounded like they were about to revert to being kids again, arguing over something here.
hmm
But it was really, but it was kept nice and it was kept nicely, but it was just enough to at least show there was some tension.
Right,
So
right.
I just thought it was just interesting to see the interplay between them and all that. And then,
Yeah.
of course, later on in the book, where how this whole situation gets resolved.
hmm
And then, of course, I have to say, if someone tries to read it, I will give one warning here. If you try to read the last chapter to get the idea of how the book ends, um, you're
Don't
not
do
going
it.
to. Well, you're not really going to get the full story.
Right,
You're not really going to get the full because and I sort of intentionally did that so that way if someone did try to go to that last chapter,
right.
you'd be going like, this ending
What?
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Well, that's because you don't go to the last chapter to get it.
yeah, yeah.
There's a little
I
bit more
call,
to it.
yeah, I call this a fun read. It's a Christian
Hmm.
fiction novel, but it it reminds you to stay true to what matters most. And then you
Hmm.
had also made a comment that you said, I hope readers see that integrity isn't a relic, it's a daily choice. So it's
Yes.
just a great book. I want everyone to read it. The author's John Price. The book is called Whitman's Choice. And where can listeners find the book?
Well, the book can be found at Amazon. It can also be Barnes and Noble, um, Books a Million, and many other booksellers around can order it for you. You'll have to order it because it's not on the shelves at the moment.
Mhm.
But if enough people order it, they might start putting it on the shelves because
Right.
this is one of those print to order. So and of course you can visit my website www.johnrprice.com. got that running again. So there's a little information out there. I have some links to some of the bookstores that have it. But again, you can find it by name
Mhm.
on many different book websites and booksellers out there. So I would say give it a chance to see what I have there in the story. And and I'll try to answer emails if I can. I do have some contact information, but if I start getting a lot of emails, just bear with me.
Yeah. So it's johnrprice.com.
Actually, sorry, it's johnrpricebooks.com. Sorry.
Okay, johnrpricebooks.com.
rpricebooks.com.
Okay, good to know.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
John. No worries. Thank
Um,
you so much for your time. I appreciate it. The book is great. I hope everyone gets it and reads it just for a fun read, but a great reminder.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to Authors Amplified. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe for more incredible authors next time.